The Leafs have just since 2021 taken either the wrong risks or like everything that they've tried to do has gone wrong, or they just aren't risky enough. You look at teams that have big money players, big star players, and the Leafs look at these guys and they say, "Well, we can't trade Marner, we can't trade Nylander, we can't trade whoever." Because they have a no move. We can't do that. Other teams say, yeah, you got a no move, but who cares? We're going to find a way to trade you because we need to recoup assets in some way because you don't want to stick around. You look at Colorado, they did that with Mikko Rantanen. They trade him to Carolina, and they end up getting Marty Nikish in that deal, who looks like a stud right now with the Avalanche, who are first in the league. And then you have the Hurricanes, who keep him for 20 games, and he realizes, you know what, I don't really want to sign with Carolina, or I'm unsure. So they send him to somewhere where he is going to sign an extension, that being Dallas, and they end up getting Stankoven and 2 firsts. That's another risky move, but the Hurricanes are willing to make it because you got to find a way to recoup assets. The Leafs have been unable or unwilling to, I'm not even going to say unable because they are absolutely able to do stuff like this, but they are unwilling to take risks and bite the bullet and just say, you know what, we're going to move this guy. As much as it's going to suck, as much as we may get some hate for it, we think in the long run it's going to benefit our team going forward, which means we got to trade you Mitch Marner, or we got to trade you Morgan Riley. Like, who would you like to go to? All of this is built up into a toxic relationship with the fan base and the organization, to where the fan base wants one thing, that is they realize that this kind of era has failed, this team has failed, and they're not going to get any closer to a playoff spot now. And yet this team is complacent and talking about, well, every game is just another game and we're not taking it, like, not necessarily saying they're not taking it incredibly seriously, but they're not making a big deal out of things. And they're saying, you know what, as long as we stick our head down and we move forward, we're going to get the results that we want. Meanwhile, you are 8 points out of the playoffs. You have 29 games to make up for this. You've got a month until the trade deadline, but really only like maybe 8 games in between now and the trade deadline. You need to make a decision now on whether or not you're selling. Whether or not you are going to say, you know what, this is a lost season. You know, some of the moves that we tried to make this offseason, they didn't work. Let's try and recoup some assets here, because fact of the matter is we don't really have any good young prospects on the come up, and we don't really have draft picks right now. If you want to look at the draft pick situation for the Leafs right now, they have a 3rd round pick, a 5th round pick, and the Sharks' 6th round pick this year. That's it. Don't have their 1st round pick. It belongs to Boston unless it is a top 5 pick. So unless the Leafs somehow luck into the lottery and they finish in the top 2 or in the top 5 somewhere, then they keep that pick. Otherwise, it's the Bruins. 2027, they traded that pick for Scott Laughton. They have their own 2nd round pick. They have their own 4th round pick, their 5th round pick, 2 6, one being theirs and one being the Flyers, and a 7th round pick. In 2028, they don't have a 4th, but they have the rest of their own picks. They are struggling on the picks and prospects part of their organization. So if there's any season to do it, if there's any season to be like, you know what, we got to restock the cupboards here, get some youth in here, take our losses, bite the bullet on some of these guys, you do it now. You need to commit now. If that means you have to pull a Rangers and put out a letter saying, listen, we didn't live up to expectations, but you know what? This is our plan going forward. We're going to sell some guys off, and that means we're able to get some more assets that we can use in the draft to get younger and faster. Talk about like a Boston Bruins scenario where last year they just didn't have it. They bite the bullet. They end up moving on from Brad Marchand. They end up moving on from Brandon Carlo. They move more pieces than you would think they would move. And as a result, they've now gotten younger, they've gotten faster, and they are now in contention for a playoff spot. Is that going to happen to the Leafs verbatim? I don't know. But that is a risk that you have to take. You need to take risks in order to be successful in this league, in any sports league. You look at it in the NFL too. Firing a coach that you may have had around for a long time, but you know what? It's time for a change. We need a change in culture. We bring someone new in, and you move out. I'm a fan of the Broncos, so you look at they move and they buy out Russell Wilson. Yes, is that going to hurt in the short term? Absolutely, because it's going to hinder your ability to be aggressive in free agency. What do though? They go out. They get Bo Nix with the 12th pick in the NFL draft in 2024. And 2 seasons later, they're a win away from the Super Bowl. They're a broken ankle away from the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Just being a homer there. But you need to take risks as a major sports franchise, as one of the biggest franchises in North America. You need to take risks to be successful, which is why the Leafs should be sellers. Will they? I hope so. I hope they get the memo. This is really all that the Toronto media is talking about, or the media regarding, regarding hockey in Canada. That's all they're talking about now, and I completely agree. Do you also, one more thing too, do you let Treliving sell? Treliving, apparently, from the sounds of it, is a bit of a lame duck GM. Are you gonna let him sell off picks or sell off players for picks and assets when you may not bring them back? That's another thing too. I think personally the Leafs sell and they clean house in April. Once the season's over, if they don't make the playoffs, even if they do make the playoffs but they're a first round exit, which they probably would be, get rid of Treliving, get rid of Berube. Berube's lost the room. Treliving is out of answers in terms of what he can do. He's actually kind of crippled the future of this franchise a little bit. And you get some new blood. And you get, hopefully, a change in culture. Whether or not that actually happens, I don't know. But you try. You got to make an effort. You got to try like you did with Brendan Shanahan. And even though that didn't work, you got to give it a shot. You got to give it a shot. So who would they sell off? That is the big question. Do I think a core piece gets moved? AKA, do you move Matthews, Nylander, Nyes, or Tavares? No. No, I don't think you do. Tavares is on a sweetheart of a deal. He's got a no move. Nyes has no trade protection, but he's 23, so you probably want to hang on to him. Nylander, $11.5 million, a no move clause. Same with Matthews, through $13.25 million, no move clause. I think you hold on to those guys. And you got to probably sit them down and be like, you know what, guys, lost season. We're going to sell some players off, but don't lose faith in us. That type of thing. Almost anyone on an expiring deal, you trade out. Michelli, there were trade rumors earlier in the year about him going to Boston. You could maybe sell him off. He's also 25, and he's an RFA with arbitration rights, so maybe you give it another shot there. Nicholas Waugh, who you acquire for Mitch Marner in the sign and trade. He has an extra year left at $3 million per. He's been pretty solid for you guys. But if the right deal comes along, I think you make that move. Calle Jarnkrok probably has next to no trade value right now, but if something comes across your desk that you like, you make that deal. Nicholas Robertson requested a trade in the offseason. It didn't happen. He's having a pretty good year. I would say capitalize on that trade value. Scott Laughton also having a fantastic year. He's in a contract year where he is making $1.5 million right now. Unreal deal. And he's a UFA at the end of the year. I think that's more of a culture guy. He is an important piece for this team in the locker room, I think at least. So maybe I would say give it an absolute run at trying to re-sign him. If you cannot re-sign him, you trade him. Steven Lorentz, I think you keep him around. Bobby McMahon, he's apparently looking around in the $5 million range. I don't know if that's the smartest idea for the Leafs. I would trade him off as well. And that allows younger guys or players that you bring in via trade to go into that forward group, get some shots, and who knows, maybe you find a gem amongst all of that. Maybe you find someone like a Fraser Minton for the Bruins. Sorry, deep cut for the Leafs because you traded him for Carlo. Speaking of the defense, Morgan Rielly has a no move. However, I think if you can move him, you do. Jake McCabe, I think you hold on to him. Chris Tanev, I think you hold on to him as well. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is on a sweetheart of a deal. He's playing the best hockey he's played since he was in Arizona. Do you move him when his value would probably be at the highest it's going to be on this contract? I think you do. Brendan Carlo, if you can find a deal, do it. Simone Benoit, if someone wants to take him off your hands, do it. And in net, I don't think there's going to be any moves there. I think Stolarz and Woll are your options. However, if Stolarz gets injured again sometime the rest of the season, I think you highly consider moving him out. And maybe in the offseason, you end up thinking, maybe do we move out Stolarz or someone like that? Because Hildeby has played really well in his 19 games with the team this year. He's on a really good contract where for another 2 seasons, he's making $840,000. I would like to see him in the NHL more. Either way, you still have a really good number 3 who is waivers exempt still. But I think next season they may have to make a tough call in net. But yeah, you try and trade as many players as you can. Dakota Joshua, if you can trade him, cool. Max Domi, maybe. I just don't know how much interest there would be there. You don't want to sell everyone, but you do want to sell players that have good value. And I think guys like Robertson, I think Bobby McMahon, I think a Scott Laughton, if you can't re-sign him, would have great value. I think OEL would have great value. I think players would want to, or teams would want to pick these players up. Simone Benoit would be a guy that you get like a 6th round pick for, but someone will take it. But yeah, if I'm the Leafs, that's what I do.